Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon and please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, or today's second half. Shall we? Alright, folks, tonight's second half, we are going to take a look at a couple of missing 411s that I believe are cryptid related, and a couple of cryptid related attacks on children. Let's get into it. The Adirondacks is a place of beauty, widespread wilderness, happy tourists. It's also a place filled with mystery. Back in November of 2015, Thomas Mezek, age 82, suddenly vanished when he was hunting deer in an area of the wild forest near the town of Horicon in Warren County, New York. Mezek was with a group of hunters who had been hunting together in the Adirondacks for decades. He was last seen by his group when he went further into the woods and took a seat after failing to meet at their designated area. They knew something was wrong and assembled a search party. Even after more than 10,000 hours of total search time had been spent, through miles of terrain, no trace of Thomas Mezek was ever found. The use of helicopters, canine, veteran teams of forest rangers, no avail, as officials have sadly scaled back the search in late January of 2016. Rangers still continue to monitor the area and conduct spot searches and training exercises to hopefully someday find Thomas E. Mezek. Turns out that the Adirondacks are infamous for disappearances that turn into mysteries, especially in the case of 8-year-old Douglas Legg. Walking through the woods to his family's seasonal home in the Santanoni Preserve in Newcomb, Douglas Legg disappeared almost 45 years ago, July 10th, 1971. While Legg and some relatives were heading out for a hike, his uncle told him to walk back to camp and get some long pants on. The distance was short, and it was a straight walk down the path, but Legg was never seen again. More than 600 people looked through miles of woods for 6 weeks with helicopters and the United States Air Force planes equipped with infrared equipment. Over the years, there has been many different rumors circulating around, but none have led to the conclusion that Legg was kidnapped or murdered. Instead, the police have a theory. Douglas got lost in the unforgiving woods of the Adirondacks. He is described as an avid hiker and a mini woodsman. It was quite peculiar he disappeared without a trace. But then again, Thomas Mezek also disappeared without a trace despite being an avid hunter of the Adirondacks for decades. July 10th, 1971, Douglas Legg 8 disappeared on a hike on the Santanoni estate near Newcomb in the Adirondack Mountains. He was never seen again. Santanoni Preserve, previously estate, was established by Robert C. Prine, a prominent Albany banker and businessman. He also is the reason why my city of Glens Falls is on the map in New York. If it wasn't for him and another gentleman with the last name of Finch, they created one of the largest paper mills in New York State called Finch Prine. The so-called Great Camps were popular amongst the wealthy industrialists of New York as summer retreats with beautiful mountains, cooler temperatures, and fresh air. Acquiring about 12,900 acres in the town of Newcomb, just south of the Adirondack High Peaks, Prine employed the renowned architect Robert H. Robertson to design the summer residential complex. It had 40 buildings, a 24-room main lodge, and a model farm. Robert C. Prine's heirs in 1953 sold the estate to the Melvin family. Myron Melvin Sr., Myron, and his brother Crandall of Syracuse. For 20 years, the Melvins and the extended family used it for their summer vacations. Douglas's mother, May Melvin Legg, was the daughter of Myron Melvin, who, along with his brother, established the prestigious Syracuse law firm Melvin & Melvin. Santanoni is located in the remote Essex County, New York, surrounded by forests, lakes, and wilderness. There are many wetlands in the area, including swamps, marsh, and bogs. Douglas Legg was the grandson of the owners of the estate. The Melvin family and the extended family had gathered together for one last vacation at their backcountry retreat before it was going to be sold. Really quick, Essex County, Warren County, Washington County, and Saratoga County have all documented Sasquatch Dogman cases. Documented on the internet, not just by me. I'm a local, so of course I looked this up. They all have documented cases. Doug, or Dougie, as he was known, 4'6", 76 pounds, was a keen hiker and a mini woodsman, despite his young age. Saturday afternoon, July 10th, 1971, Dougie and his uncle set out for a hike around Santanoni property. His uncle noted that there was poison ivy on the trails and told reluctant Doug to return to the lodge and change from shorts to long pants. A walk around the half-mile, he passed his older brother and cousin about 50 to 60 yards from the main lodge building. He failed to return to his uncle and was never seen again. That evening, as the temperature dropped, the family called the state police, and locals from the town searched for the body throughout the night. The next day, a formal search was started by forest rangers using dogs. Helicopters were deployed, and the United States Air Force, out of Plattsburgh, sent planes equipped with heat-detecting infrared. At the height of the search, close to 1,000 volunteers were scouring the area. The wilderness terrain with swamps, bogs, dense forests, fallen trees made the search more dangerous and difficult. It was almost hampered by the lack of coordination, with no one being in charge. During an S&R effort, the weather deteriorated, with heavy rain, falling temperatures at around 40 degrees, which added to the dangers for Dougie as well as searchers. That is a very, very rare July month for the Adirondacks. We do not have cold nights like that. It must have been a very rainy season, because our nights are usually 60, sometimes 70. A bloodhound found the scent, but it was lost at the edge of a swampy pond, which was subsequently drained and dragged. Nothing was found. Then sneaker tracks were found about 2 miles away at Ward Pond on the 5th day of the search, but the rain had washed away any chance for the dogs to pick up a scent. A week after Dougie's disappearance, the family hired an elite search team of over 20 mountain men from the California Sierra Madre Mountains. Again, no luck. After 6 weeks, the state police called off the search. In 1993, a woman claimed that Dougie had been kidnapped and killed by her relative. His body was dumped into the lake in Lewis County. Officials searched the dry lake bed, only to learn that the woman was a psychiatric patient suffering from false memory syndrome. Then around the same time, a man came forward to report to officials that he had come across a small skull and partial skeleton in 1973, which he believed to be a human. He and a friend were hunting and became separated as he chased a deer across a peninsula leading to the 21-acre island in Newcomb Lake, approximately a half a mile from the lodge. He didn't report it in 73, he says, because they didn't know about the case at the time and had been on leave from the Navy for 4 days and were not supposed to be there. He later reported it when his friend heard the news about the renewed search for Dougie based on the woman's false story. The man traveled from his home in Montana to show investigators the area where he found the remains, but unfortunately they found nothing. The remains would now be tobacco-colored and buried under inches of sediment and moss, and since an only general location could be given, authorities only searched the most likely area, a 50 by 50 yard area. The story fits with the last known sighting of Dougie, who was possibly attempting to follow his uncle around Newcomb Lake. Police had a theory that attempting to follow his uncle, he walked across the peninsula, thinking he was still following the lake shoreline, became disoriented, and lost on the island. The island was searched at the time of the disappearance, but it was hampered due to dense vegetation in the area. If Dougie did not become lost, he may have fallen to foul play or run off on his own accord, then drowned in a bog or a swamp. The family, not wanting to return to the scene of the tragedy, quickly contracted with a newly formed Adirondack Conservation Committee of the Nature Conservation to purchase the entire Santanoni Preserve. The furnishings were removed, and the committee then resold the property to the state of New York for incorporation into the State Forest Preserve. For 2 decades, Camp Santanoni buildings were inadequately maintained by the state, since the intent, as required by the Article 14 of New York State Constitution, providing for the retention of the Adirondack wilderness, was to remove improvements in order to return the Santanoni Preserve to a forever wild condition. Today, Santanoni Preserve has been restored to its former glory and is designated a National Historic Landmark, requiring a 5-mile hike to gain access to the buildings from the closest road. The main lodge and most of the outbuildings were renovated by the Adirondack Architectural Heritage under the administration of the New York State Department of Encon and its preservation officers. Which then leads us right to this case. One of Tennessee's most infamous missing persons case involves a child who vanished in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park more than 50 years ago. The lessons learned from that search have been studied and developed into modern-day science now used for search and rescue operations. The hunt for Dennis Martin, 6, remains the largest scaled search for missing person in the Smokies. He was definitely there, said Park Ranger Dwight McCarter. But what happened to him? That's the question. McCarter was involved in the 16-day rescue effort for Martin that started June 14th, 1969. Dennis, it's hard to figure. The Martin family was camping along the Appalachian Trail for the weekend. The boy's 7th birthday was only 6 days away. According to former GSMNP Deputy Superintendent Clay Jordan, Dennis, his brother, and friends decided to hide, then sneak up on the adults. They were back country camping at a Spence Field area when Dennis hid behind a shelter. That was the last time he was seen. Just within minutes, literally, his father and other adults started searching for Dennis, Jordan explained, with no luck. By the time his folks were able to get to a ranger station for help, it was dark and raining past 8 o'clock. That forced the search to be paused until the morning. The days following his disappearance, more and more people were involved. The sheer amount of people, with the Army and volunteer, it was a lot of people, recalled McCarter. Around 1,400 volunteers looked for Dennis, including hundreds of National Guard and federal troops. The missing case even piqued the interest of the White House and FBI. At one point, his family did offer a $5,000 reward, but investigators said there was no credible indication of an abduction. McCarter, a young park ranger at the time, said that the search helped him develop new skills. I just piddled along, take my time with stuff because you could miss something valuable. The massive search for Dennis helped develop a new science for search and rescue efforts. We know, looking through today's lenses, that just throwing a lot of people out in the woods in the end is not the best way to try to find somebody, said Jordan. We had a lot of people out in those woods trampling clues. Now, modern-day searches usually include far less volunteers and more trained personnel like McCarter, who knew what clues to look for. Maybe they threw a banana peel over there. Despite no sign of the boy, for 16 days, his family scoured the park for years, following mysterious vanishing. Old Man Clyde was out searching for that boy, McCarter remembered. We would meet him on the Appalachian Trail, and he searched and searched. 1 year, 2 years, 4 years later, he was still searching. The boy was last seen wearing a red t-shirt, short green trousers, and Loca Oxford shoes. Young Dennis Martin had never been found. Now, during that case, there was also mention of a large bipedal creature carrying something red over its shoulders. Was it a Dogman? Was it a Bigfoot? We may never know. But that case got me thinking about this case. Boy 13 killed in suspected canine attack, canine in quotations, on a Kentucky mountainside near a relative's home. Kentucky police are investigating what kind of animal killed the 13-year-old boy in a deadly attack on Knott County mountainside on Tuesday evening. The 911 call reported it to be a, in quotations, canine, but police have been unable to confirm that animal responsible for the attack of the young boy. The autopsy on Wednesday morning confirmed cause of death to be from injuries consistent with an animal attack. The boy has been named by a member of the family as Corey Godsey. He is believed to have been staying with a relative, but was not new to the area. Police warned the community to remain hyper-vigilant, but do not believe there is any immediate threat. No, a little boy just died. A 13-year-old boy just died, but no threat. A Kentucky teen died on Tuesday after being attacked by a canine-type creature police have yet to identify. Right there, canine-typed creature. Not a dog, not a wolf, not a coy dog, a canine-type creature. Kentucky State Police were called to the home of Emelina community in Knott County at around 6 p.m. on Tuesday following a report of an animal attack on a 13-year-old boy. His body was found on a mountainside behind the residence at Knott County coroner Corey Watson pronounced him dead from suspected injuries stemming from an animal attack. An autopsy performed at the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort Wednesday morning determined the cause of death to be from injuries consistent with an animal attack. Authorities weren't able to identify what type of animal was responsible, but they're still investigating. Their initial determination was that this is caused by injuries consistent with an animal attack. Trooper Jody Sims with the Kentucky State Police, Post 13 in Perry County, told WYMT. However, at this point, there is no way they can determine what the animal was. There are still questions as to what animal it may have been. Yet, same article, canine-type creature. The coroner told WYMT, however, that he was called to the scene of a suspected canine attack involving a child. The child's body was discovered 300 feet up a hillside behind the residence, and rain and the dark conditions initially made him difficult to find. The person, I thought, said several hundred feet, 300 to 400 feet up a hill. It's very steep. So it's a pretty good distance, said Sims. It's a really difficult thing to go through, Part of being a professional in law enforcement, or as the first responder, you got to take care of business first. And you kind of got to deal with that yourself as well to some degree. But obviously, the biggest focus has to be on this family at the time. With the result of what happened to this child yesterday, that's as bad as it can get, he adds. The boy is believed to have been staying with a relative, but was not new to the area. He was homeschooled, according to Knott County School Superintendent Kim King. Troopers in the area have warned people to remain hypervigilant, but added there is no immediate threat to the community, especially from a canine-typed creature. Something happened in this community in Emelina in Knott County. We just urge people to be very aware of their surroundings. Be careful about the things you have around your home, said Sims. Be careful of any type of potential food source for wild animal. Secure those garbage cans, containers, whatever you have. We all know what savagely mauled that little boy and carried him up a 300-foot steep hillside. But that case got me reminded of this case. Another child just recently attacked. And this case is still fresh, but makes absolutely no sense. A 7-year-old boy from Oklahoma was mauled to death by a family dog last week, local authorities say. The boy, identified by KOCO and family as James McNillis, was reported missing on October 20th at around 7:20 p.m. from his home south of Kiefer. Less than 15 miles south of Tulsa, the Creek County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. When authorities arrived on the scene, a family member of McNillis located him on the property. The child was pronounced deceased at approximately 7:35. The preliminary investigation indicates the child was attacked by the family pet, a dog, the statement read. The dog was a Sheltie Corgi mix. They top out at size of a large house cat, 18 inches and tops 40 pounds. But it took down a 7-year-old boy with no issue. Come on now. Officers said the child's death is being investigated alongside the state medical examiner. The Creek County Sheriff's Office did not immediately respond to USA Today's request for comment. McNillis' family told 2 News Oklahoma the boy's father found the boy in the yard where he was playing with the dog, which they said is a Sheltie Corgi mix. They added the family took the dog in as a stray, yet it's never been aggressive in the 3 weeks they had it before the attack. Authorities said the dog is being held at the animal control facility. Neighbor Shannon Edson told KOTV her family was celebrating a birthday on their porch, and when they heard the commotion happening nearby, they knew something was wrong. As a mother, you know that scream. If anybody has ever heard that scream, you know that scream, Edison said. It's gut-wrenching. No family should ever have to go through something like this. In a Facebook post from Saturday, Michael McNillis, the boy's dad, spoke about his son. He was full of life and light. He was going to change the world. His light will change the world. We feel alone and lost without him. And we're doing all we can, but it's just hard. Everything just hurts without my little boy being here. My question is, nobody heard the boy scream. And I've searched Twitter, Facebook, and there's been no screams heard by the boy. I've seen some other channels that are really shoddy talk about hearing the boy, but there's been no mention of this little boy screaming. They've heard the mom scream. Of course, a mom is going to scream. And like the woman said, as a woman and a mother, you know that scream. Crazy things about this is that no one heard the little boy scream. A Sheltie Corgi is not going to take out a 7-year-old boy. And if your child is missing, the first place that you're going to look is your house, the front and backyard, before calling anybody. Yet, you call and then say you can't find him, and then find him. I'm not blaming the dad, I'm blaming a Dogman or a Sasquatch. I'm thinking more Dogman on this case, actually. And I have, since I started covering this case on day 1. Just like the Jimtown Road incidences. These cases need to be covered from day 1. All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing this information with you. I'd like to thank you all for being supportive of this channel. You guys are what makes this channel what it is, and I truly do appreciate it. With that, everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. These creatures are out there, and they are watching. God bless you all.